This one time, I attended a modeling workshop. I was in college at the time, and I heard about this one-day workshop thing, and I thought I could really use this class because I'm terribly unphotogenic. I'm the person that always has one eye closed and doesn't know what to do with my hands. I thought, I'm just gonna keep this on the DL. I'm not gonna tell any of my friends about this and just go to this thing alone and come out amazingly photogenic. And so I got to this workshop the day of, and there turned out to be only 5-6 people there in total. And I was the only one who was not a working professional model. So the first thing that the teacher had us do was mimic poses from the Victoria's Secret catalog. And there were these two girls there, one in junior high, one in high school, really young girls who kind of became my unofficial coaches and were trying to help me out. Put this part in and cheering me on, which was really nice. But I was just long gone. I was in this total mode of I'm not trying, this is funny. The worst part of it all was when the teacher had us line up in a row facing her, and she had taught us something about S-shapes. You couldn't S-shape with your body somehow. I can't even. And I just couldn't do it. And I was standing there just looking at her, and she's like, hey, keep moving. It was absolutely mortifying. I was too busy dying of embarrassment to actually learn anything, which is such a shame because I could really use a pose or something. And now I got nothing.
I was around 8 years old with my best friend Ria. We were going to the movies for the first time all by ourselves. We were stoked. We were going to go see The Santa Claus 3, which had already been out for 3 months, but we still wanted to feel adult, but like kids. We went into the theater, we bought a giant bucket of popcorn and the giant soda because obviously we wanted to torture our parents and punish them for letting us do this all by ourselves. We go into the theater and we sit right in the middle because that's where the best seats are. Then we watch some of the previews, and this one preview starts playing and it doesn't stop. What ended up happening was The Corpse Bride started playing in the theater we were sitting in. Normally after 5 minutes, most people would, leave the theater. Remember, we were two very, very proud 8-year-olds who did not want to admit they had made any sort of mistake whatsoever. So what do Ria and I end up doing? Just sitting there, in silence, glancing at each other, wondering if there's anything we should do, and being very, very freaked out by what is playing in front of us.
2 years ago, I made the huge and kind of frightening decision to do my master's degree overseas in England. This was a huge moment for me in more than just one way because it was my master's degree, I was going to live by myself for the first time in my life, and also I was going overseas to a country I'd never been before. I had to fly alone on a really, really long journey and kind of manage all that by myself, and then when I got there, I had to actually move in, which, for any of you guys who have done that before, that's not easy. Of course, there was an unhappy baby on the flight, so by the time I got there and actually landed in Heathrow, I was so exhausted, I was tired, I hadn't slept at all, and it was 8 in the morning. I was around a bunch of Americans, obviously, when I first landed because you have to go through the border control, but as soon as I got out and amongst the people, it was terrifying. I'm in a new country. I can't even use my own money. I stick out like a sore thumb with this accent, and everything's about to be different. So when I got to Bristol, I moved into my dorm, first time ever staying in a dorm, and everything was so plain and bare, and the closets were empty, the desk was empty, and I didn't even have a blanket on my bed, which is something I didn't actually remember to get until the second day. I only saw one of my eventual 5 neighbors, and she was really quiet and kind of disappeared in her room. I'm not really sure she realized I was going to be her neighbor. And yeah, so that was kind of failed friendship attempt number 1. Just about a minute's walk from my dorm was this really, really old and beautiful cathedral. I mean, parts of this building have been standing since before the United States was a country. And there were British people just strolling all about, not even really noticing. I mean, not too far there was a bunch of skateboard guys who weren't even really that good, kind of just tripping over their skateboards. This was just everyday stuff they didn't even really notice anymore. But I was just mesmerized. I just walked by it almost every day, and this became one of my favorite places in Bristol. Over the next few weeks, I pretty much met all the people who have become my best friends for the rest of the year. I started my classes, and I discovered the beautiful, beautiful library on campus, which actually wasn't too far from my dorm, and that basically became my second home. Parts of the city almost instantly felt normal, and then other things took a lot longer, like remembering to bring a converter with all of my chargers wherever I went, or not saying to go, but instead saying takeaway when I wanted to get some food to go. I never fully fit. I still got funny looks every so often for my accent, but that city became my home, and even now I still feel like I left a little bit of my heart there.
So in the spring of 2013, my then girlfriend, now wife, told me about a puppetry festival happening at our public library. I love puppetry. I love the art of it, and just Jim Henson is one of my heroes, and everything that he's created through puppetry is just amazing and interesting to me. And I even have my own custom Muppet Whatnot named Marty that I got for my 22nd birthday, because those are the kinds of gifts that I really wanted for my 22nd birthday. But I'm thinking, whoa, there's gonna be a puppetry festival? That means that I'm gonna be around my people. I'm gonna be around fellow enthusiasts. This is gonna be the Comic-Con of puppetry. Like, they're gonna have demonstrations, they're gonna have workshops. Like, I'm gonna learn how to be like a proper puppeteer. Like, this is awesome. And so I go there, I have Marty in my satchel, and I walk in and I see that they have the workshop and then they have the puppet show going on. Now, the puppet show is already going on, so I said, great, I'm gonna go to the workshop. And I see just a room full of about 5 kids all sitting in like kid-sized tables and chairs. Like, there was not a single adult-sized chair in the room. I'm like, am I in the right place? And I walk over to the instructor and ask them if this was in fact the puppetry workshop, and seeing if there were any other happening in the building. And they said, no, this is it. And then I look around the room and realized exactly what I tweeted. Turns out the puppetry festival was not what I was expecting. It was a workshop for kids to learn how to make sock puppets. I made eye contact with the only other adult in the room, who was a parent, and they left almost immediately. I was the only adult there without a kid and with his own Muppet.
VidCon announcements in the best lighting possible. We're hosting the 2nd annual Story Circle. What that means is that a bunch of us meet up and we sit in a circle and we all share stories based on a theme that I give beforehand. You don't have to tell a story, you can just come and listen, but know that it is a safe space, it is a great place to make friends, and if you feel inspired to tell a story, why not? The Story Circle is that Saturday, July 25th at 5 p.m. Location is still TBD. Please follow the Twitter account at OneTimeStories, and I will be sharing what the location is when it's closer to time and I know what's going on. Finally, if you care about what panels I am personally on, I'm moderating the Less Than Famous panel this year. It is on Saturday, July 25th at 9:30 a.m. We have a really great group of panelists this year, so if you have any questions pertaining to the Less Than Famous world, you can leave them in the comments below. I'll be running around the conference the entire time. Don't be afraid to say hi, and I always feel really pretentious when I say that. Don't be afraid to say hi. We'll say hi.